Hi, and welcome to, or back to, my channel. I'm Kit, and today we're getting a glimpse into what a trad marriage looks like. Before we get into it, I would like to thank everyone for clicking on this video, and I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons and channel members. I've heard of Estee Williams, but didn't pay her much mind as she seemed to only be on TikTok, and that's not an app I use or really have an interest in using. Recently, however, she's begun posting YouTube shorts, and though YouTube has been recommending them to me, I was pretty meh about them until she posted about what we practice in our marriage. Estee is not shy about being a trad wife. In fact, that's what her socials are about, so I was really curious as to what she would say. And, well, I'm making a video about it, so you can probably guess. Let's get into it.
First one is, I do not go to the gym without my husband, ever.
The text reads, I don't go to the gym without husband, unless it's an all-girls gym or class. This isn't controlling, it's about respect and avoiding unwanted situations and interactions.
I did this when I was single, and when I tell you the amount of people, men, that walk up to me in the gym, it's countless. And a married woman, whether she has a ring on her finger or not, men just sometimes don't follow those boundaries. And it's not about trust. It's about removing yourself from a situation before it can even happen. Like, I just wait for him and I go to the gym with him. And he's like my trainer.
Okay, I mean, I get it, and I totally understand not wanting to put oneself in those uncomfortable situations, but it's still not right that women are the ones expected to sacrifice living normally. That does not mean Estee has to put herself out there to blaze the way for future generations of women to be able to go to the gym and just work out like a normal human, unbothered by romantic advances, but it is something I want to point out.
Number 2, my husband does not have to lift a finger when he is at home.
The text reads, husband doesn't have any house tasks unless it's heavy lifting. After work, he gets to relax and that's all. He's the provider, I'm the homemaker. I make the home his sanctuary.
Because if he's the breadwinner and he goes out, the provider, he works, and he works long hours, and he works a very physical labor job. He's an electrician, so he does not need to come home and clean up. He doesn't need to help me cook. But there are times when he just wants to help me every now and then, and that is very welcomed, but he absolutely does not have to.
Okay, but if he goes to work and comes home to relax, and home is your work, when do you get to relax? Homemaking is like if you were on call 24/7, except worse because you're essentially always at work. And it's not as though you can just quit or find another homemaking gig. Well, I suppose you could, but something tells me divorce and then remarriage would be more difficult and much more expensive than the traditional finding of a different job. And this is not to say that no one should be a homemaker or anything like that. It's just to not forget that you exist and you are worth taking care of as well.
As a homemaker, I think it is important.
The text reads,
a homemaker should have the house ready for when her husband gets home. Clean, tidy, smells good, and warm, fresh food ready for the family. Give him an environment he looks forward to every day.
That the woman has the house clean, a hot meal on the table for her husband and her kids if she has any, and a really welcoming environment.
I'm sure everyone already knows what I'm going to say to this, but why the woman? A man can't be a homemaker? Why not?
3, my husband gets the final say.
The text reads,
the money he makes is our money, but as the head of the house, he gets the final say on the big purchases and investments. Let him lead. This will benefit you, I promise.
What if the head of the house is bad with money? What is the benefit then?
So if I want to make a bigger purchase, and I'm not talking grocery shopping, I mean something extra, I always go to him first anyways, but if he says no and puts his foot down, then the answer is no. Even though he's bringing in the money to our family and it's our money, he does get the final say.
And that is an excellent example of how these relationships are unequal. Granted, that is on purpose, but they pretend as if it's not. He does not put his foot down. He is your husband, not your father. If you can't afford something, you can't afford something, but the phrasing is just so odd. However, I suspect that has something to do with let him lead. A wife is to be led like a child, making the husband the father, who, when the child is unruly, has to put his foot down. Maybe they don't intend for it to be taken that way, but let me know in the comments. Is it weird when an adult says their spouse put their foot down about an issue?
4, I cook him what he wants to eat.
The text reads,
I cook the food he wants to eat. I don't push dieting or clean eating on him unless that's what he wants. He prefers hearty and more heavy food, so that's what he gets. Typically, I'll make myself something different and we eat together, or I'll have a smaller portion size. Don't push your habits onto your husband.
A lot of wives, I see they get in these relationships and they try and change their man's diets and stuff like that. Sure, if you want to eat your salads and your green smoothies, go for it. But do not make your husband eat that way. They are grown men. They usually want something more hearty and filling, and that's what I make him. And if I want to eat less of it, or I want something a little bit healthier, then I usually will. But I'm not going to change what he eats.
I do love the stereotypes. The wives want salads and green smoothies, and the husbands want hearty, filling meals. I would say that if he doesn't like what's for dinner, he's free to make his own meal, and really, women should be eating more than salads and smoothies, but being a homemaker is her job, and not making him food would be a dereliction of duty.
And 5, I always make sure I am put together.
The text reads,
As a housewife, the majority of my time is in the home, but that doesn't mean I dress like a bum. I get ready for the day and wear makeup, house dress, hair tidy, and perfume on every day. Make him excited to see you after a long day of work. Maintain your beauty habits because he does notice.
This is a really big thing. I think that waking up in the morning and just staying in pajamas all day, it's not the way to go. Pull yourself together, put some makeup on, put a cute outfit on, do your hair, do something, and make yourself look a little more put together. And trust me, he does notice.
I'm pretty sure that even experts agree it's healthy to get ready for the day, even when the day is going to be spent at home, especially if most days are spent at home. But it always has to be phrased as something you do for your husband. Why? Is this some dying to self Duggar BS? Joy? Jesus first, others second, yourself last? Anyway, that was it for part 1. Now on to part 2.
So the first one is, I don't leave the house after dark by myself.
The text reads,
I don't leave home alone after dark. Anything that needs to be done outside the house can be done during daylight. I always ask my husband before I leave home and arrive places, as well as share locations. I'm safest at home and with husband. This is all about safety. We use Life 360 app.
This is not a control thing. This is a safety thing. I've had a couple encounters and I don't wish to have any more. Along with leaving the house, I always notify my husband when I'm going to go somewhere and when I arrive. It's safety. Why not, right? And we always share locations with each other. I really recommend the Life 360 app. It notifies you when your partner arrives or leaves, and it notifies you if their battery is low. I love it.
if that's how she feels safest, that's her business, and I'm sorry she had those experiences. Again, however, we're putting the onus on women to just stay home rather than on men to behave themselves. And what does her text mean by, I always ask my husband before I leave home? I assume it's how it sounds, but she didn't say anything about it, so I'm hoping I'm wrong because you really don't need to ask your spouse for permission before leaving home. And as for the app, if that's what you want and it works for your relationship, great. However, I have a friend trying to leave their spouse right now and they can't go look at apartments because they have a tracking app on their phone. Unfortunately, sometimes the person you should be safest with is actually not safe for you.
Number 2, we don't do opposite sex friendships.
The text reads,
No opposite sex friendships. This is disrespectful to your partner and opens doors for comparison and affairs to happen. Any friendship needs I get from women in my family.
so if you're bisexual, no friends for you.
I don't think a woman needs to have a male best friend. Why? Why? Any companionship or company that I need, I can get from another woman.
As someone who does have male friends, how is it disrespectful to your partner to maintain those friendships? It's not as though you spring them on your partner after the wedding day. And if you have no desire to date or sleep with your male friends before marriage, why would that change after? I hate this idea that men and women just can't simply be friends. That is not true, and if you can't control yourself around the opposite sex, that's a you problem.
Number 3, and this one's gonna ruffle some feathers.
The text reads,
I submit to and serve my husband. This is biblical.
I submit and I serve my husband. This is a biblical thing, so don't twist this into something that it's not.
I believe this is Estee trying to tell us this is not a kink, which, thanks for the confirmation, because sometimes it's hard to tell.
It is a blessing to be my husband's helpmate, And the Bible has the man of the household, not the woman, so he leads.
And on that note, I recommend The Making of Biblical Womanhood by Beth Allison Barr.
Number 4, we don't involve any outsiders or family members into our disputes.
The text reads,
We don't involve outsiders or family into our disputes. This causes more harm than good. Keep your marriage safe from outside interference. Others will feel pressure to take sides and influence your marriage.
This is important because arguments, disagreements, whatever, need to stay within the marriage, and when you involve other people, it causes more issues, and most likely people choose sides, and you just don't want that.
On one hand, I agree, especially because after the disagreement is over and everything is peaceful again, whoever you told about it might not like your spouse anymore, which can make things awkward. But on the other hand, sometimes an argument is more than an argument and you're too close to see it. I think it's important to have a trusted friend or two to discuss these issues with.
Number 5, I take my husband's preferences into consideration.
The text reads,
I take my husband's preferences into consideration. I typically wear the clothes he likes best, style my hair the way he enjoys, and cook the food he loves. I put my husband's wants ahead of my own, and this has done nothing but benefit myself and our marriage.
So with my hair, my clothes, I like to wear the things that he likes. And typically he's not going to like something that is so outside of my norm. He's going to like the things that he sees me happiest in, and that's usually pink and bright colors. And he loves my hair more naturally curly, so that's what I do most of the time.
This is giving Lopke's life vibes. Anyway, if that's what she wants to do and it works for them, great. But this is a quick way to lose yourself. To be so invested in making someone else happy that you forget about what makes you happy, and you also forget it's okay to change.
A lot of the comments in my other video, people were asking, what does he do for me? And I just want to correct you guys on something.
The text reads,
Western women don't have the mindset of, what can I do to make my husband happy? Serving your husband's needs before your own is what a good wife does. This mindset and effort will strengthen and honor your marriage. Start doing this and everything changes for the better.
A lot of Western women don't sit here and think, what can I do to make my man happy? No, they think, what is he going to do to make me happy?
A healthier question is, what can we do to make one another happy? Also, I said this in the Lopke's Life video, and I'll say it again. Someone who cares for you would not want you to sacrifice who you are in an effort to please them. It is okay to continue being your own person. Your life does not have to revolve around your spouse.
You guys don't understand the benefits that you reap when you think about your partner before yourself.
She's been married for 5 months. I found an article about her which had a poll. Do you think the tradwife movement is good? Yes, I would love to be one. Yes, I would love to have one. No, women should work outside the home. And it really boils it down to stay-at-home wives, good or bad, when in reality, that's a personal choice for every family. The problem with tradwives is that they also believe women should submit to their husbands. And if you really get into it, they're not being very trad at all. Having large platforms online to tell people all about your life and how they should live their own is not traditional. And let's not forget the white supremacy woven throughout the movement. That and submission are what I would say differentiates tradwives from stay-at-home wives. There's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home wife or husband. There is a lot wrong with being a tradwife. And on that note, I did take a look at her Instagram follows, and by now you would think I would know better, especially when it's someone who actually embraces the term tradwife. We have our typical tradwife favorites: Feminine Not Feminist, Mountain Housewife, Solely, The Tradwives Club, The Pretty Conservative, Evie Magazine, Mrs. Midwest, Traditional Fellowship, and we have our alt-right news sources like the Epic Times and Quick Conservative, as well as former and current OAN hosts Liz Wheeler and Chanel Rion, and a conservative commentator, Michael Knowles, and of course, everyone's favorite, Trad West. Let's have a look at some posts. In the long run, feminism does not help women. Traditionally, women had the right to be protected and provided for by men so they could raise children. Now, women must take on the burdens of the man as well as the burdens of the woman. Feminism did away with that right. Sis, you're single because the men you want don't want you. What is the solution? Lower your standards, learn their requirements, and mold yourself into the kind of woman they want. #relationship advice. Women are emotional beings and aren't fit for office, but for inside the home. Her emotions and selfless love must be utilized inside her family. She must devote her time for assisting her husband and not for making a fortune for herself. Let these daughters begin to serve their father first, then their brothers, in their family, as she must be aware of male authority. Make her fully ready to serve her future husband. Let her know that she is born to serve her family. Home is for him to relax and enjoy, not to help his wife with chores. Home is her workspace, and she must not expect her husband to help her. She was made for the home. Update: due to hoflation, one good girl is now worth 10,000 bitch. Here we have a foursquare which tells us that before TikTok, boys used to box. Before Tinder, men and women shared straws. Before porn, men and women kissed. And before globalism, men and women wore pristine white clothing and stared off into the distance. I'm sure listeners will be shocked to know that everyone in this is white. Here is a post that asks, which way, modern man? And I guess you get to pick your wife based on politics. You can have an Antifa wife who looks rather solemn and is wearing a black cap, or a trad wife who looks gentle and is smiling while wearing a headscarf, or a liberal wife, which is AOC, or an ANCAP wife, which is Caitlyn Bennett holding, of course, a large gun. Now we have which way, modern woman, and the options for women are modernity or maternity. I was trying to kind of make them rhyme, but I don't think I quite got there. Anyway, modernity is represented by a woman wearing black and holding a tuxedo cat and, randomly, a colorful bouquet. Maternity is our very own Mrs. Midwest during one of her pregnancies. So again, trad wives are not simply women who want to stay home and care for their family. No matter how attractive they are, no matter how soft-spoken they are, no matter how submissive they claim to be, they are part of a larger agenda. And I'm so tired of this being painted as,
feminists just hate housewives.
No. Housewives are fine. There are feminists who are housewives, even. But trad wives are not housewives. They know and understand what they're about, and they very well know that a lot of people wouldn't be okay with it, which is why part of their shtick is to pretend they're just a simple housewife, serving their households. How could anyone have a problem with that? Clever. But more and more people are starting to catch on, and I will continue calling it out. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.